October 9, 1966, Elko, Nevada. Sunday evening, a drugstore soda fountain on Idaho Street, 9 chrome stools, a mirror running the whole back wall. A hand shoves a plate down the counter. The plate belongs to an old man eating alone, and it stops hard against his coffee cup, and the coffee goes over onto his sleeve. 3 young men off the road from California laugh at that.
What's that now?
The old man does not look up. He wipes his sleeve with a paper napkin, folds the napkin once, and goes on eating. You already know the man on that stool. Nobody in this room does. Here is the story. Sunday evening in Elko is a quiet thing. The mines are shut till morning. The ranch trucks are home. What is open on Idaho Street is a drugstore with a soda counter in the front window, run by a widow named Nadine Crow, 44 years old, who took the place over when her husband died and kept it because a town needs one door that stays open on a Sunday. By the front door there is a wire magazine rack. It turns on a squeaking spindle, and it holds the westerns and the movie magazines and the funny books. And a 10-year-old boy is standing at it right now, turning it slow, while his grandfather drinks coffee in the corner booth. Remember that rack. Before this night is over, it is going to do something no man in this room can do. The old man at the end of the counter came in 20 minutes ago. No hat, a plain canvas ranch jacket gone soft at the elbows, a work shirt washed past its color, dust on his boots from somebody else's corrals. He has been 3 days out among northern Nevada bulls. He runs Herefts in Arizona with a partner, has since 1964. And when a man like him wants to know what a bull is worth, he goes and stands in the pen with it himself. He is driving home alone. He stopped because he was hungry. The trade papers keep his name pinned to the next picture, a thing called the war wagon. The man on that stool is not thinking about pictures. He is thinking about his coffee, which is on his sleeve now instead of in the cup. The 3 young men came in 10 minutes behind him. A new car, with California plates, sits outside at the curb, and the 3 of them wear the kind of shirts that have never been folded by the man inside them. The one doing the talking is named Bobby Lindell, 21 years old. The other 2 we will call what the room called them, the tall one and the one in the yellow shirt. Each of them carries a draft card in his wallet with a student deferment typed on it, which in October of 1966 means other boys their age are in a war, and they are not. That card is in this story. They are loud the way young men are loud when a town is small enough to feel like it belongs to them. And they have decided the evening's entertainment is the old man at the end of the counter. It starts small, the way it always starts. They take the stools beside him when the whole counter is empty. The tall one drags the next stool out of his way and lets it spin. Bobby reaches straight across the old man's plate for the sugar jar, over his food, past his face, and sets it down on the far side where the old man would have to reach for it. Then the shoved plate, then the coffee on the sleeve, then Bobby, grinning into the mirror. Kind of slow with that sandwich pop. They close this counter come winter. Watch what the old man does not do. He does not turn. He does not answer. He does not look for help. He wipes his sleeve and folds the napkin and eats, slow as before, because a man who has nothing to prove eats at his own speed. The 3 of them read that stillness as weakness. Every man watching this who has ever been 59 years old reads it another way. While he eats, where is this finding you tonight? Put your state down in the comments. There are 9 stools in Elko, and I want to know how many rooms like this one still have a man like that sitting in them. Now the counter kid comes down with his order pad. And this is Arlie Prewitt, and you need to know what the 3 of them do not. Arlie Prewitt is 20 years old. In July, he was a Marine rifleman in the hills below the DMZ, 19 years old, and carrying a radio. And a mortar round came down close enough to lift him off the trail and set him down somewhere else. When he woke up, the world had gone to one side. The right ear was finished. Not ringing, not muffled, finished, and no doctor on the hospital ship or after could tell him different. The Marine Corps did what it does. It thanked him, it discharged him, and it sent him home to Elko with a bad ear, a ribbon, and no trade. He wrote his mother one letter from the hospital, and in it he told her about the ear in a single sentence, buried in the middle, between the food and the weather. The way a young man buries the only thing a letter is actually about. September, he went looking for work. You should hear how that went, because it is the quietest part of this whole story, and it is the part that leaves a mark. The parts counter at the implement dealer. The man was kind about it, and the answer was no. The front desk at the hotel on Railroad Street. They need a man who catches every word, they said, and the answer was no. The assay office, sweeping up, not even talking to anybody. No. 3 doors in 1 week. Not one of them was cruel. That is the thing nobody tells you about coming home. It is not the cruelty that wears a man down. It is the kindness with a no at the end of it. Nadine Crowe hired him the day he asked. Did not try him out. Did not sleep on it. She put an apron on him, put him behind her counter, and told the room he came with the coffee. When one of the regulars griped that the new kid made him repeat himself, Nadine refilled the man's cup and said the coffee was free the day he could say where that ear got left. The griping stopped. He works quick and he works clean, and he has one habit and one sentence. The habit. He drifts to your left side when you talk, quiet as a door closing, so his good ear is the one you get. Most people never notice it, it just seems like good service. The sentence. Say again? He says it soft. He says it maybe 40 times a shift. It costs him something every single time, and he pays it 40 times a shift, because the only other choice is to stop talking to people altogether. Now watch Bobby Lindell, because Bobby is not stupid, and that is what makes this next part what it is. The tall one orders first, a cherry phosphate, and Arlie takes it clean, because without thinking he has drifted a half step to the tall one's left. Good ear forward, pencil moving, and Bobby sees the drift. You can watch him see it in the mirror. He looks at the way the kid stands, and the way the kid angles his head, and he does the arithmetic, and a slow grin starts, because Bobby Lindell has just found the soft spot, and finding soft spots is the one thing his kind is good at. Arlie stops in front of Bobby. Pad up, pencil ready. Bobby looks at his friends. Then he leans to the kid's right, to the dead side, the side he just found, and he orders into his shirt collar, on purpose, dropping his voice into a mumble a hearing man would have missed. Say again? There it is. Bobby's grin goes wide. He mumbles again,
Can you hear
lower.
us back there, buddy?
Say again? And now the tall one has it, and the one in the yellow shirt has it, and the 3 of them are leaning back on Nadine Crowe's stools, saying, Say again? Say again? In high, cracked voices, cupping their ears, laughing at a 20-year-old who left half his hearing on a hillside so that boys with typed cards in their wallets could drive a new car through Nevada on a Sunday night. Arlie does not fight them. He stands there with his pencil on the pad and his ears going red. And he does the arithmetic every quiet man does, that it will cost the room less if he just takes it. Have you ever had to ask somebody to say it one more time and watched them decide you were not worth the repeating? Then you know exactly what is sitting on that boy's chest, and you know it weighs more than a mortar round. Nadine comes down the counter fast, rag still in her hand, and she says it loud enough for all 9 stools to hear it. He left that ear under a mortar in Vietnam. July. Now order or walk. Bobby looks her up and down, slow, the way a man looks at something he priced already. Easy, ma'am. Kitchen help ought to be able to take an order. That's all we're saying. He turns back to Arlie, cups his ear one more time, opens his mouth, and down at the end of the counter, the old man sets his cup in its saucer without a sound. 1 second. 2. 3. The stool turns. The old man stands all the way up, and the room changes shape around him. You have seen it happen, a big man unfolding in a small room, and he comes down the counter with no hurry in him at all, and puts himself square between Bobby Lindell and that counter, between the boy with the pad and the boys with the cards. He is not touching anybody. He is just standing where the words would have to go through him to land. That'll do. 2 words, even. Almost gentle. Bobby starts up off the stool. He is 21, There are 3 of them. This is an old man with coffee on his sleeve. And then he is standing, and the top of his head settles in somewhere around the old man's collar, and whatever he had planned gets shorter. We're just having some fun with the help, old-timer. The old man looks at him for a moment. Then he says, in a voice that would not wake a sleeping child, he says, "Say again, because a mortar took his ear in July. You've got a card in your wallet says you don't have to know what that means. A beat. Which one of you earned it?" Nobody answers that. There is no answer to that. The percolator ticks. The neon buzzes in the window. The tall one is looking at the menu board like it has become important to him, and the old man leans in 1 inch. 1 inch, no more, and finishes it. "You had a joke. Say it again." Silence at a soda counter has a sound. It is 9 stools not turning, and a rag not moving in a widow's hand, and a grandfather in a corner booth setting down his cup to watch. Nobody hits anybody. Nobody has to. The punishment is the room, every eye in it, pointed one direction, and no floor anywhere for 3 young men to look at. Bobby puts a $5 bill on the dry counter for coffee they never ordered, and the 3 of them go out the door in single file like men leaving church early, and the California car starts up, and Sunday takes them. Now, hold on. Ask the question you are already asking. Why doesn't he say his name? 1 word, and this is over before it starts. 1 word, and those boys are asking for autographs instead of trouble. He does not say it, and here is why. And this is the whole man in 1 paragraph. To say the name is to make it about the name. It would turn a wronged boy into a bit player in a story about a famous man, and hand him the worst lesson there is, that you need a bigger man to save you. He does not want to be the biggest man in the room. He wants the room to be ashamed of itself on its own, and he wants that counter kid standing exactly as tall as he stood, with nobody's shadow over him. Some men spend their lives making sure you know who they are. The best one I ever heard of spent that Sunday evening making sure nobody found out. The room lets its breath out. The grandfather in the corner booth picks his cup back up and gives the old man 1 small nod across the room, 1 veteran of something to another, and gets 1 back. Nadine comes down and refills the old man's coffee without being asked, and when he reaches for his money, she moves the cup out of reach of the question. And Arlie comes down the counter with the coffee pot in a hand that has finally stopped being careful, and he stands a little straighter than he stood 10 minutes ago. And he says thank you, too quiet, half into his own collar the way a man does when he is not sure the words deserve the air. The old man does not say again. He heard it fine. He just tips his head, 1 inch, the same way he will tip it to the widow on his way out. He could have walked away right there, paid his check, nodded at the widow, gone back to the dark highway and the long drive, and been nothing to Elko but a big stranger who once stood up at a soda counter. That was there for the taking, and no one alive would have faulted him. But instead he stays on that stool, and he orders a slice of pie he does not want. And he waits, because he has 1 more thing to do, and he is waiting for the room to stop looking at him so he can do it quietly. He never gets the chance. The magazine rack beats him to it. By the door, the 10-year-old boy has stopped turning the rack. It has come to rest on a movie magazine, and on the cover of that magazine there is a face. Same deep-set eyes, same heavy jaw, younger, under a cavalry hat, in Technicolor. The boy looks at the cover. He looks down the counter at the old man with no hat and dust on his boots. Cover, counter, cover. And then he pulls at his grandfather's arm, and in the kind of whisper a 10-year-old thinks is a whisper, he says it. "Grandpa, that's him." The room breaks open all at once. The grandfather on his feet, Nadine's hand coming up over her mouth, a name running down the counter stool to stool the way fire runs through dry grass. The old man closes his eyes for half a second, the way a man does when the thing he was avoiding arrives anyway. Then he stands, and he goes to the rack, and he takes down that magazine, and he puts his money for it on the counter, coins counted out exact. "Ma'am, you have a pen?" Nadine hands him a pen. "And now watch close, because everybody in that room expected an autograph, and an autograph is not what this is. He opens the cover. On the inside, where the paper is blank, he writes one line, not his name. One line. He caps the pen. Then he reaches over and tears the top sheet off Arlie's order pad, and on that small square of paper he writes a man's name. Not his own, another man's, and under it a telephone number with an Arizona exchange. And he folds the paper once, and slips it inside the magazine. He closes the cover and holds it out across the counter to Arlie Prewitt, Goodyear's side, and he says the last thing he will ever say in Elko. Tell him I sent you. And he pays for the pie he never ate. And he tips his head to the widow, and the door shuts behind him, and the taillights go west on Idaho Street toward the dark. And the whole thing, start to finish, plate to taillights, took less than 1 hour of one Sunday. Arlie opens the cover. One line of ink, no signature. 7 words. A fella who could hear you fine. 30 years. Go there. 1996, Northern Nevada. Off the Lemoore Road there is a cattle outfit with a plain steel gate and a sign that says Prewitt on it. And the man who runs it is 50 years old and answers to Arlie. The phone number with the Arizona exchange was a ranching man, a cattle partner, and the job was real. Bottom rung real. Fences and feed and 4 in the morning real. Arlie called the number on a Tuesday, standing in the drugstore's back room, with that small square of order pad paper flattened out in front of him, and said a name he had no right to say. And the voice on the other end went quiet for a moment, and then said one thing. If he sent you, you start Monday. Nobody asked about his ear. Arlie Prewitt rode that job 30 years into an outfit of his own. Deaf right ear and all. Turns out cattle do not care which side you listen from, and here is what the job grew into. Because a thing like that Sunday does not stay one man's story. In 1971, a man came up the Lemoore Road looking for work. Home from the war 2 years and still could not sit with his back to a door. And every outfit in the county had found a polite way to say no. Arlie came out of the barn, walked around to the man's left side without one word about why, and hired him standing right there in the yard. The man stayed 19 years. He was the first. He was not the last. Do the arithmetic with me, because this is the part I cannot let you miss. 1 magazine, 35 cents. 1 line of ink, 7 words. Not $1 of charity changed hands in Elko that night. No envelope, no check, nothing a boy would have to carry as a debt. And in 30 years the Prewitt outfit has put 41 men on its payroll, and 26 of the 41 came home from somewhere first. Vietnam, mostly. Then the ones after. Men who sat in front of some desk and watched somebody decide they were a risk. Arlie hired every one of them the same way. Standing on their left. 35 cents, 7 words, 41 families. That is the yield on 1 hour of one Sunday, compounding in the dark for 30 years. And the man who planted it never once came back to look. Elko kept its pieces of the story too. The drugstore held on until 1981. When the highway moved the traffic and the chains moved in, and on the last day Nadine Crow, 59 years old by then, poured coffee for anybody who walked through the door and would not take a dime for it. Arlie was there. He closed the register for her the way he used to when he was 20. And the boy from the magazine rack, he is a grown man of 40 now, still in the county, and to this day he is the one strangers get sent to when they hear a rumor about one Sunday in 1966. And want to know if it is true. He always tells it the same way, and he always ends it the same way. I wasn't the first one in that room to see who he was. I was just the first one to see the cover. In the office there is one thing on the wall, a movie magazine in a plain wood frame. Framed open, cover folded back, so that what shows is not the famous face. What shows is the inside of the cover and 1 line of handwriting with no name under it. Visitors ask about it, and when Arlie says who wrote that line, they always ask the same next thing. Why didn't he sign it? And Arlie looks at them with the patience of a man who has answered slowly all his life, and he says, he did. He never told the story while his mother was alive, because she cried the one time he tried. The narrator will tell you what Arlie will not. A man's name is the cheapest thing he can give you because it costs him nothing. That old man gave the kid the expensive thing. The proof in ink that somebody heard him fine. They sell autographs at every auction house in this country. Nobody has ever put a price on that frame because the thing in it was never for sale. One more thing before you go, and be honest with me, because this one has been sitting with me all night. Nadine Crowe kept that sugar jar, the one a rich boy reached across an old man's plate for, on the same spot on that counter until the day the drugstore closed. Locals knew. Strangers never did. So here is my question. If you had been on one of those 9 stools that Sunday, no hat, no cavalry, just a tired old man eating slow, would you have known him, or would you have needed the boy at the magazine rack, same as everybody else? Put it in the comments. The truth, now. If this story got where it was aimed, do one thing for me. Send it to somebody who came home to a country that talked past him. There is one within a mile of you right now. And if you want to be here for the next one, subscribe. Because the Duke left more evenings like this behind him than any newspaper ever counted. And unfortunately, they don't make men like John Wayne anymore. There is one more story you should hear tonight. A saddle shop in Sheridan, Wyoming. An old craftsman the factory age had written off, laying his tools out every morning to an empty room, and what the Duke ordered before he left town. It is on your screen right now.